University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Guidance coach. He said identify ourselves. Right?
Yeah, he did.
Good start.
John, Greg Barnes in South Carolina. Mac had mentioned, that you reached out to Stacy once Tim had left. You got to walk us through that process in terms of making contact and how quickly things progressed from there.
Well, I had a prior relationship with Stacy Searles. You're referring to. I think everybody probably knows he's the offensive line coach. But we had worked together at the University of Georgia, 2008, 9, and 10. You know, like it is in this business, you stay in touch with people regardless, and you enjoy once you've kind of gone to battle with them and all those kind of things. You enjoy the relationships with people. And so when I did find out there was an opening here, I've always had a lot of respect for this program, for Chapel Hill, for this area. I mean, you can look out the window, it's an absolutely beautiful place. And I was on the other sideline, probably during some of the, during my lifetime anyway, it's been some of the best years here. And certainly remember that night in November in 1997 when I was at Florida State and we came here and played. It was an unbelievable atmosphere against a really, really strong football team. So had a lot of respect for the place, for Coach Brown, for what he's done. And just felt like this would be a great situation, not only for me, just personally and professionally, but for my family, being able to live in this area, for my kids. We have younger kids. I started a little later in life probably than most, and we still have some young children. And for them to maybe have a place where they can really grow into who God's made them to be and put down some roots and that type of thing. And it seemed like it's hard in the coaching business to say there's somewhere that you can do that and potentially be for a while. This seemed like a place that fit that mold.
When you were at FSU in Georgia, was North Carolina, I think it was one of your recruiting areas all the time. Were you the main guy recruiting North Carolina? And what do you remember about recruiting the talent in the state?
Do I get to call him out for not?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
We're trying to really do a great job with the little things here, So
You have to make your own sprints on lots of
I'm just picking at you.
That's Andrew Jones, Tar Heel.
Sure thing, no problem. You know what? When I was at Florida State, those are things that change kind of yearly in terms of recruiting areas and things like that. When I was at Florida State, I probably had North Carolina as one of my, what I would call a secondary area, because we were always going to focus in-state first. But as a secondary area, the majority of my time that I was there as a full-time coach, which was 10 years worth. At Georgia, we probably did a little bit more. We did some area things, and I had some of North Carolina during that time, and it varied really year to year what part of the state that was. But we also did some positional things, so there were some guys within this state that I ended up recruiting. One of them's on the team right now when I was at Georgia, who probably fit more from a positional standpoint than it being an area, if that answers your question.
Jonathan Alexander, News and Observer. So far, how has the transition been? What are the most difficult things and the easiest things?
You know what? That's probably easy to answer. And he asked about the transition. The hardest thing, obviously, is when you're away from your family and you're trying to make a move, and just the dynamics of leaving one place and getting into another. But specifically, here, I wouldn't say there's been anything that's been hard. I mean, I've got about as easy as you can have. I'm standing at I don't know the direction exact, Courtyard by Marriott, where that is, about 2 miles away, so it's easy to come and go. The people here are tremendous. I mean, that's a big part of why you love working here in my just short time here, is because there's great people here, the players. I wouldn't begin to tell you who all they are. I'm still figuring that out myself, but the players are certainly the epitome of student athletes in my estimation, the way they go about their business. So the coaching staff is very professional, a bunch of great guys, been very helpful, and all the people really that I've encountered have been very helpful with trying to get acclimated to the university, to the football program, athletic department as a whole. So there really hadn't been anything that's been hard. I mean, it's all been pretty easy, like you would hope and expect.
Also, what is your philosophy and what did you hope to bring here?
philosophy as overall.
Yes, sir, as in your coaching style.
You know, I do, and I know I was joking a minute ago, I think you've got to really be kind of a detail-oriented stickler for the little things. I love the fundamentals of it. I love the preparation of it. The games are fun, don't get me wrong. Games are a lot of fun, but that's really the time for the players to go do what they've done and put all the work in to be able to do. So I love the preparation and the day-to-day of all of it, quite frankly. I love, like, this time of year, I love the spring, and when you're working on the fundamentals, trying to build your team to what it's going to be. So that part, I guess, philosophically would be, I enjoy the teaching part of it. I enjoy the fact, particularly in college football, you can get to know a young man when they're in high school, and nowadays the way recruiting is when they're really young in high school, and you get to watch them then really grow from a young man into a man with his own family and his own job and those kind of things. I like that part of it. You know, and that's philosophically, what do I hope to see? I can't remember the last part of the question.
Well, what do you hope to bring to this? What do you hope to add?
You know what? I've always thought of myself as a team player. So as I've been here a week and a half, you're still kind of figuring out exactly where that fit is and all those things. Offensively, obviously, this offense, I think, has a tremendous opportunity to be very explosive. I mean, I think coming into this situation and what the expectations are, that's something that's exciting. Expectations are good, I personally believe. It means you've got all the things in place to do it. If there are expectations, there are high expectations that are there. I know the only way we're going to get there is if we work hard and work together. So I look forward to that part of it. But to bring that to it, and beyond that, we'll see when we get out there on the grass and for the artificial turf or whatever it is nowadays, and go to work.
Ross Martin, inside Carolina. You mentioned, I think Garrett Walsh was the guy you recruited to Georgia. You actually committed there. What do you think about the tight end room right now? And Mac Brown also said you met with Coach Longer for about 2 hours discussing offense. How do you see the tight end role in this offense? What you can bring to that?
Well, first part of the question about the tight end room, really exciting room to me because of just the dynamic of it. And I don't know where the guys in the middle are or were or whatever, but you've got a senior, there in Garrett, who, quite frankly, I believe seniors ought to play their best football their senior year. That's just the way it should happen. If he's wired the right way, if I can get him there, if he can work to do it, then he should have his best year this year. Obviously, I'm still kind of buzzing through a lot of the tape from last year, but he played a lot last year. So my expectations are for him to be his best, to be the leader of the room, to be a leader on the team as a whole, to show up every day with a sense of urgency to get better. And then you've got a cluster of younger guys that I think, potential is that dangerous word we always talk about, but I think there's potential in the room. And, Kamari Morales has been here, played a little bit last year, and that's I think a good rule that they have now. You can play a little bit and still technically you can redshirt. But I think, he's a hungry young guy from what I've been able to, again, determine in a week and a half. And then you've got the two early enrollees, which I think that takes kind of a special guy to do that, to bypass that last 4 or 5 months of your senior year, because that can be a pretty fun time, in high school. You only get one shot at it. And if you're mature enough to say, I'm going to not only get ahead in my coursework where I can do that, but then I want to do it, I'm going to go do that. That means something. And to be able to, get John and Kendall out there and try to get them up to speed, see what they can do, and throw it all at them and see what sticks. And so I'm excited about the room, the potential of it. As far as the offense, and I think you asked about the tight end's role in the offense, I'll say it this way, and I don't want this to sound bad when I say I don't care how many balls they catch, how many touchdowns they score, or whatever. I know this, the bottom line, every Saturday, we were talking about it earlier, Saturday, the only thing you want is to have more points on the board than the other team at the end of the day, whether that's 2-0 or 52-49, whatever that is. And whether that's at the position I coach, where that means they catch it 10 times for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns, or if they don't touch it and they just do their job all day, that doesn't matter to me as far as their role within the offense. Now, that being said, I expect them to show up and to be really good at whatever their role is on a given play or a given week or whatever. So to show up focused every day, kind of have a thing that I talked about the other day, is being humble and hungry. And that's the only way we're going to get where we want to get, because we're certainly not there right now.
John, this may not be a fair question because you've only been here for 2 weeks, but you've worked for some great coaches, Coach Bell and Coach Rick. A little bit of time you spent with Mac. Is there kind of a common theme with some of those elite coaches in terms of maybe what stands out about them or sets them apart?
First of all, and it is a fair question, I think they're all great men. I think that probably goes before being a great coach, really, but they are also great coaches, and I think I've been really blessed in my career because they're all Hall of Fame caliber coaches, a couple already there, and I think Coach Rick, if he doesn't get in, that'll be criminal for what he accomplished as a head football coach and even as an assistant. But I think there are some common things. I think the way they treat people, and then their attention to detail and the things that they try to do. I mean, I've sat in one full staff meeting, but it was, I thought, very productive and organized and those kind of things from that standpoint. Not that I'm the end-all be-all judge of those kind of things, but I think that's where it starts and ends. And again, there's a reason why they're all successful and they all win at a high level and all those things, I think.
Coach Gregory Hall with Inside Carolina. You spent 2 seasons in the NFL, chose to come back and coach college athletes. What did you see as the difference between coaching the NFL versus being a college coach?
Those guys in the NFL have a lot more money than the college guys have. But besides the obvious, you know what I do? I look at it all the same. I think even guys in the National Football League, the good ones, the great ones, they want to get better every day. They want to be coached. And so that part of it is extremely fun. I've got great relationships with the guys that I've coached in college and in the National Football League. I don't know, from a different standpoint, it's their job in the NFL, and so the hours that they spend on it are expected to spend and so on. Obviously, that's what they do. That's how they feed their families. And in college, it's guys have to go to class all day. They go to study hall. They've got a lot of other things probably outside of just the football part. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's people, it's relationships, it's guys who want to be coached, want to be better. You love being around them, you love walking in the room every day. It's like I was talking about a minute ago. That's the fun part of it to me, is the relationships. And again, just watching guys get better, no matter what level they're at. They could be a freshman that just walked in the door trying to learn a system and how to do stuff, or it could be a 10-year vet that's been in the Pro Bowl. I mean, it's really the same, other than maybe the skill level and, like I said, the bank account probably.
How do you go about building relationships with your players?
I think, number one, you've got to get to know them beyond the football part of it. It's got to be beyond just the X's and O's or what maybe they perceive you think that they can do for you. I'm beyond the age of worrying about trying to use something to get the next job or do the next thing or whatever the case may be. But that being said, I think you have to build relationships where they know they matter to you beyond football. And that takes time. I don't think people, especially in this day and age, I don't think you earn people's trust in one day, one meal, one meeting, one conversation or whatever. But you have to know that. And then I think they have to realize that you can give them something they don't have, whatever that is, at that point.
How do you think the NFL experience has made you a better coach, and how can you use being at that level kind of help you communicate with the kids now and getting that trust maybe a little sooner?
From the experience part, it really is, and I've talked about it with other people, they're for my money, the best athletes in the world. Now, everybody would say that about whatever their chosen sport is or whatever, but they are the best of the best in the sport of football. And that's fun to be around guys like that, who really, in time, they can probably do just about anything you would ask them to do. The other part of it, you know, is that being around that is that you also know if you don't work at a really high level and you don't prepare them for every possibility and all the different things that they can see and get them to be the best that they can be, somebody's going to eat your lunch on a Sunday afternoon, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. And I think when you get into the Atlantic Coast Conference and our division, the Coastal Division and all that, it's the same, you know. And I wasn't aware of this, but to see the fact that I think I'm right on this, somebody told me there have been 7 different champions in the Coastal Division in the last 7 years. I mean, so that's, the NFL would love that. That's parity at its greatest, you know. But I think that part of it, you know, you got to prepare your guys at a high level. You really can leave no stone unturned and get them good at the little things again, because we want to be able to do what we do better than what somebody else does. And really, I probably should have said this when we talked about coming here. I forget who we were playing. We were playing somebody on the road this past year, and we traveled on Saturday afternoon. We got in the hotel, and that would be the college football I would watch. Would be maybe an hour in the afternoon. We got in there, and you know, before we had meetings at night, maybe a little bit at night or whatever. A lot of times I didn't turn on any other football because you wanted your mind on your game the next day. But I turned on the North Carolina Clemson game, whatever weekend that was. I want to say it was in September, maybe late September, maybe, and watched some of that. I didn't get to see all of it, but it was very obvious the level that North Carolina was playing at that day, you know, and obviously the game came down to, you know, play here or there. And that's the kind of thing I think you experience week in and week out in the NFL and for the most part in Power 5 college football as well. So I think, if anything, it's made me even more conscious of the details and handling all the little things, because at the end of the day, that's what separates you from winning and losing in the close games.
Coach, what's your approach to recruiting or philosophy? How do you go about trying to find the best players recruiting in UNC?
I mean, I think a lot, certainly, I think we've got a great product here. Not only with the football program, the entire athletic department. Look at all of the championships that have been won here. My family's in town for a couple of days. I took my son, who's 8, to the basketball game last night. Speaking of which, he's convinced that his presence there is what won the game. So he wants lifetime tickets now, I guess, or get to go to the ACC tournament or something. I'm not sure what he wants out of that. But anyway, but seeing even the way the crowd was, because it certainly hadn't been, I'm sure, the year that they envisioned in basketball, but seeing the support there, you know, and all of those things. But I think we've got a great product here, certainly. But I think you've got to do a great job evaluating, because with that product, you feel like you can go out there and attract really anybody that you might be interested in. So you need to make good decisions. And then from a recruiting standpoint, it really is, I mean, it starts with, I don't like it when people say, and maybe I'm in the minority, I don't know, philosophically, I hate to get on the philosophies, but when people say you're just trying to sell something, that almost sounds like it's fake. You know, I don't think you have to sell it as much as you form a true relationship with somebody. You really get to know them. And at the end of the day, you want what's best for them if you really care about them. And there's probably no one place that's perfect for everybody, but I certainly think if you've got the right kind of people, you've got the right support system in place, you've got a great degree like we have here, in a great environment, great area of the country, then in a lot of ways that helps you, you know, in that, and that's part of it. Certainly in this state, I know from not having worked here, but recruited against people in this state, you always felt like, hey, if North Carolina can keep their in-state student athletes in-state, well, they're going to be tough to beat. And when you had to play them every year when we were at Florida State, and they beat us a couple times when I was there, and always had a bunch of really good players, different positions, but you felt like that was something. So from a philosophy, if you want to hear that, we've got to do a great job in this state, and that the student athletes in the state need to realize if we'll stay together here, we can do great things. not just in our division, not just in our conference, but in the nation as a whole. It's about forming relationships. And I quite frankly, I don't believe that I personally have ever signed anybody as a recruiter. I think it's always a team effort. It's never one guy. I think, and no offense to anybody that I'm not sure who works for which thing, because I'm not familiar with all of them yet, but when you rank recruiters, I mean, I get it, but I think that's one of the things that has crushed college football a little bit, because guys want to be ranked high and all that, and it's like they'll take a bad player at the risk of having a ranking or something rather than getting the right guy for the team or the room or whatever. Again, no offense intended to anybody in here, but is that you?
24/7 Sports.
Okay, sorry. But
No apologies.
anyway, he deserves it, huh? Is that what you're saying? But anyway, I think it's a group effort to recruit anybody, and it goes beyond maybe the point person as the coach. It's the coaching staff, it's the support staff, it's the people they come in contact with, it's the fans. I mean, shoot, I think if we can pack this place for the spring game, that makes a statement. You know, I mean, because people look at those things. I mean, does it matter or not? I don't know, some people would say no, but I think it matters. You know, because of perception and what perception means in relation to reality. But it's everybody people come in contact with. It's just like me sitting at the basketball game last night and seeing a year where maybe it hasn't been what they want it to be, and yet everybody's into it, they're cheering, they go down 10-0 like that, you know, because the other team hits. Are we allowed to say the other team's name here? I don't know how it works yet, but these guys, they hit the, you know, they were 4 for 4 right out of the gate. You know, you're like, they're not going to do that all night, and sure they didn't. They just, you know, North Carolina kept playing, came back, won the game, hit the free throws at the end, all those things. So, you know, to be able to see the way the fan base acts and interacts with each other and with the teams from a distance or whatever, to me is huge. I think all that stuff matters. So I think, I don't know, that's a long philosophy thing for a guy that usually doesn't like to philosophize, but there you have it.
What do you want to accomplish during spring practice?
The biggest thing to me is to get, and I'm probably a little more laser focused just on my room right now, and figuring out all those guys, but we need to get better every day. We need to walk out of those 15 days, and even the days where you're not practicing, you get opportunities to meet and those things. Those are critical days, and evaluate what you're doing, because you can get better, you can learn if you focus the right way then, and with the workouts they do on days like that and all. But it's to come out of spring, everybody always says healthy, you know, because that's big, but then to come out with, particularly with those young guys, a lot better sense of what we're trying to do offensively and how we want it done, and then being able to do it with great effort and the right technique, and be better at the end of it, so that there's a good foundation to go into that from the middle of April till August, you know, to get ready to get back at it.
What was it like going to school at Guilford College and playing football there? That's a very small school right there from the Avenue.
It's, I'm impressed you know exactly where it is, and there are a lot of people, of course people here know, but a lot of people that have never heard of it. It was a great experience for me. It obviously is a small school, but the education is second to none, in my opinion. I was probably on the lower end of guys that got in there and got out, but that's okay. And you know what? I enjoyed playing football there. It's amazing the number of football coaches that come out of there at all levels that you run into. I think one reason for that is because we love to play the game. That's why you go there and you play, because we used to laugh, you know, when I was there, it would be, I remember one time we came out after halftime and there was somebody throwing a Frisbee to their dog on the field. So we thought it was like the halftime entertainment, you know, and it just turned out it was just some guy that was walking his dog and he saw a lot of grass out there, so he like took his dog there and threw the Frisbee. And I was like, man, you know, it kind of offended all of us. Then we're like, they would never do that, you know, Power 5 school. It wasn't Power 5 back then, but you know, a big school. But I mean, that was kind of the nature of the place. But you played because you loved playing and competing, and a lot of my best friends in the world were from there. And so I loved it. You know, it was perfect for me. you know, to go there somewhere where I could play when I was probably limited a little bit athletically, have a good time. And we probably lost more than we won, but that was a long time ago, so I'll tell you we went undefeated every year I was there.
Well, your tight ends that you recruit, do you prefer guys that play other sports during the course of the year when you're recruiting them? Or do you rather have guys that are 52 weeks out of the year that are football centric?
I love guys personally that play sports, you know, play all kinds of different sports. I think that's important. I think you get a chance to compete year round. Now some guys, they may, I'm not going to use a name, but I mean, I had a tight end one time that played basketball and shouldn't have. He was awful, okay? And he was a heck of a football player, played in the NFL. But I mean, probably there's sometimes they'd be better off just, hey, I'm going to work on football. But seriously, I think the more they compete, the more they can do. I think that's great. You know, I've talked to coaches in other sports that love it when they have a guy in their sport that played football in high school, because sometimes there's a toughness aspect that comes along with that then carries over and translates into other sports. Not that you can't be a really tough guy and play other sports, because I've seen a lot of them. But I think it's great if you can compete year-round. Obviously, it says something about their athleticism. It says something about they don't ever want a day to sit around, you know, quite frankly, I think. I never really thought about it that much, but I think I do probably prefer that.
All right, guys.